This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, March 30th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The chairman of the House Oversight Committee says the District of Columbia has deteriorated and declined across the board in recent years, leaving Congress with no choice but to step in and restore public safety. Tom Howe reports Chairman James Comer accused city leaders of spending money they don't have on progressive initiatives, while carjackings increased and property crimes and homicide rates have worsened. D.C. Councilmember Charles Allen acknowledged homicides and carjackings are particular worries, but said the crime is part of a broader trend. A 1973 law expanded self-rule for D.C., letting residents elect a mayor and city council with legislative powers. Congress, however, retains the power to block city laws during a mandatory review period, and the new House Republican majority is flexing that power. Data shows that the U.S. has overtaken Russia as the top crude oil supplier to Europe. Ben Wolfgang reports European Union figures released this week show the United States provided 34.5 million barrels of oil to Europe in December, accounting for about 18% of the continent's total crude imports. Russia provided 7.6 million barrels, or just 4% of imports. The Russian government recently announced a 5% cut in oil production through June because of decreased global demand. Russian officials say they're making up for the shortfall by tapping into other markets around the world. China is seizing on the Biden administration's Summit for Democracy as an opening to ramp up its anti-American propaganda and push its alternative vision for a new world order. Guy Taylor reports President Biden told the 120 invited world leaders attending in person and virtually that his administration was setting aside $690 million to bolster democracy programs around the world. Officials said the funding will be used to support free and independent media, combat corruption, bolster human rights, advance technology that improves democracy, and support better election processes. The Chinese Foreign Ministry's charges demonstrate China's rising frustration and concern about a gathering that administration officials say is about supporting democracies at a time when authoritarianism is rising around the world. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. While much remains familiar, there are big changes as Major League Baseball kicks off a new season. Matt Paris reports opening day comes this year as the game's executives are scrambling to solve problems that threaten the sport's bottom line, including a younger generation increasingly immune to the game's charms. On the field, pitch clocks, larger bases, and other new rules are in place to try to speed up the action. The implementation appears to be working, with spring training games being 25 minutes faster than just a year ago. Off the field, the league is dealing with the fallout from a bankruptcy of the largest regional television network holder that broadcasts a huge chunk of Major League Baseball games. A California task force is on track to recommend a reparations package worth as much as $800 billion to compensate black residents, but whether such a payout would pass judicial muster is another question. Legal experts tell our Valerie Richardson that any plan to write checks to black Californians would run into a host of hurdles, including the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. Figures under discussion by economists working with the California panel include $246 billion to compensate those who lived in communities with aggressive policing and prosecution during the war on drugs from 1970 to 2000. Another $569 billion would go toward compensating black residents for housing discrimination resulting from redlining policies. And finally, lawmakers want to know how much money President Biden's family and family business associates may have reaped from deals made in the years he served as vice president and beyond. Susan Ferricchio reports House Oversight and Accountability staff have endorsed media reports that U.S. banks flagged more than 150 business transactions just for Hunter Biden and for James Biden. House Republicans are examining Treasury records as part of an effort to determine whether foreign business deals secured by the Bidens and their associates have compromised the president. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.